Hey, let me say at the outset that I know Congressman Jim Jordan. I had the honor of serving in the House of Representatives with Congressman Jim Jordan. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan is a great American. He's a great patriot. He's a great conservative. He's a great friend. And Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan would make a great Speaker of the House. And in fact, that's the announcement he made today, throwing his hat into the ring. Let's discuss this and all things Republican Party with our friend Tom Beccaro, who is the former chairman of the California GOP. Tom, thank you for joining me tonight. Let's start with this announcement. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan announces today that if the Republicans retain control of the House, his hat is in the ring. He wants to become Speaker of the House up against, clearly, California Congressman Kevin McCarthy. What's your take?
Very interesting, and interesting timing, of course, because the big thing is the if. I happen to think, unlike Larry Sabato, that the Republicans will hold on to the House. So then the question becomes, can the Freedom Caucus, which is about 40 votes, let's say, be able to deny Kevin McCarthy the speakership, and then that would allow Jim Jordan to pull things together? Or is this simply a deal where he's going to get concessions? That's the real issue that we're going to find out as things unfold.
And Tom, what's interesting here is you're right. Jordan is a Freedom Caucus conservative. Kevin McCarthy, who's been around since '06, well-liked by most of the caucus. What's interesting is they're both very close to the president. And it would be interesting. Can you imagine if the Republicans do retain control, would the president even get involved in a race like this?
You know, you bring up a very important point. Kevin McCarthy is very shrewd. And, I'm from California. He's from California. He's always been able to put together coalitions in supportive of his efforts. And, of course, he is close to the president. And he's higher ranking, of course, than Jim Jordan. And he has supported the president's agenda by and large. And spending, which is what Jim Jordan cares a lot about, hasn't really been part of the president's agenda, meaning they haven't made reducing spending a big part of their agenda. So I think Kevin's in good stead with the president, and so is Jim Jordan. Again, the question becomes, this becomes a math game, right? Who gets to 220-something votes? So if this comes down to both being there and running, and the Republicans obviously having the House, I'd kind of be surprised if the president bypassed Kevin McCarthy, but we'd have to see. But that doesn't mean it's over, because again, you remember when Scalise ran or for a higher post, he was able to get certain concessions, or at least he thought he did, and that might be the play here as well.
So, Tom, let's take a look at the midterms. You said a moment ago that you expect the Republicans to retain control. I think it's about a 50-50 shot, because I still worry about a lot of Democrat enthusiasm out there. What are you seeing?
Well, tomorrow's a big day, because the Republicans, and I said this back when I was helping the White House with the tax reform, that there's going to be a burst of energy towards the middle of next year. And we're going to get a big economic number tomorrow. And the Democrats are going to have to figure out, because, the Democrats, the world's ending every other week, right? Talking mean to North Korea is the end of the world. Talking nice to North Korea is the end of the world. You pick Kavanaugh, that's the end of the world. There's children on the border. Who knew? Nancy Pelosi did in 2014 and said, let's not politicize them. Now the end of the world is, I don't know what the end of the world is. Oh, we spoke to Russia. Now we're nice with Russia. Now you have tariffs, end of the world. Now the tariffs might be off the table. So the Democrats have a very mixed message, which is why this is a dangerous time for Republicans to have a mixed message. But I continue to believe that you're going to get a very strong economic number tomorrow, around 5%. We know there's more job openings than people looking for jobs. Independents are scared off by socialists. I still think the Republicans are going to retain the House this fall.
And Tom, if you had the president's ear for 20 minutes, these final 3.5 months before the midterm, what would you advise him to talk about and focus on?
I'd advise this for the Congress as well. The Democrats are going to be fighting a lot. Are they socialists with scare off independence, or is Joe Lieberman's crowd going to have a voice and say we should be more rational? I don't think they're going to be rational. Their answer to lawlessness is less police. Let's get rid of ICE. The Republicans need to cut a marked contrast. They should say, starting in September, we're going to do these 3 things if you elect us. While the Democrats want to raise your taxes and get rid of ICE, these are the 3 things we're going to do next year. Have a focused message. People these days voters are very impatient. So if the Republicans come up with a 3-step plan of what they're going to do, that'll be a good contrast. Boast about the past, but talk about the future.
And Tom, right there in California, we talk about the battle for the House. It could well be decided in California. You have so many competitive congressional seats. Do you expect folks like Rohrabacher and even Devin Nunes to hang on and/or win comfortably? You've got some tough races out there.
Absolutely. Part of the problem with California is there's so many Democrats, right? But that might be helpful actually this fall, because it's so assumed that Gavin Newsom is going to win and so assumed that Dianne Feinstein is going to win. Maybe Democrats out in the state don't go out to the polls. Interestingly enough, at the start of this year, you remember Darrell Issa dropped out of his seat because the internal polling was so bad. But his replacement, Diane Harkey, is up in the polls right now. And that tells you a lot. If she's up in the polls, that means it's essentially an even race. Don't get me wrong, she's not running away with it. But if that's the dynamic that's developing, and again, independents like government that works, and they want a good economy. We're going to see a great economy with the numbers tomorrow, close to 5%. I predicted that we'd get 5% last November when I was talking about this. It seems like we're going to get very close to it. The independents want a working government, and they want a good economy. The Democrats don't want a working government. They want to fire ICE. That's ridiculous. So I actually think you might get a depressed Democrat vote this fall in California because they assume they're going to win the governorship and they assume they're going to win the Senate seat. And that gives an opening for Republicans.
Boy, from your lips to God's ears, Tom Del Beccaro, thank you so much, my friend, for joining us.
All right, see you soon.
A bad night for police officers all across America last night. I'll explain.